back to the Rock Podcast and episode 109. And today we're gonna talk about the absolute classic 1981 slasher Home Sweet Home. And together with me here, as always, I got Zombie. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing generally pretty good. A bit tired, but yeah, it's been a good day.
Yeah, we got awful fucking weather today.
Yeah, other than that, yeah.
Yeah. I'm doing alright. Thank you for asking, by the way.
Yeah, as always.
Yeah. But yeah, we're gonna talk about the 1981 slasher Home Sweet Home, since this is the Thanksgiving episode. But before we venture into that little piece of history, we're gonna check if we have watched anything since we last recorded. Have you catched anything?
I have not. I have had a lot to do. Well, not a lot, but enough to make me tired.
Yeah.
To just shut brain down.
Yeah, no, I haven't really had the time to watch anything besides the main feature, which we watched together.
Yeah.
By the way, but I've managed to catch one thing, and it was on the world premiere of the film, which was Five Nights at Freddy's, the film adaptation of the popular jump scare-a-thon horror point and click game that I think there are 5 games of it now, 5 or 6.
I've lost count about how many games there is about that franchise.
Well, I'm not a particular fan of the games. I've never played any of them, but I've seen playthroughs of them.
Same.
So I know what it is about and everything. But without going into any spoilers or really what the movie is about, they follow the plot of the games somewhat. They're taking a lot of stuff from the game. So the creator of the games, I can't remember his name now, Scott. Something.
Yeah.
He was involved in in the writing of the script, and he produced the movie as well. So I kind of guess that's why they didn't, come up with something that didn't really have anything to do with the games.
Yeah.
I think that the movie was alright. It was a tad bit too long. There were some. There was a subplot that wasn't really necessary, and one thing. I kind of guess this is a minor spoiler of the film. They made the main character. They connected the main character to the main villain of the film, which I didn't think was really necessary. It was very, cliche.
Yeah.
But Matthew Lillard turned up in the film, which I didn't recognize him at first, but when I was watching the end credits, I was wait a minute, was he in the movie? So
actually, there was a lot of YouTubers that made a feature in the movies that has either played a lot of the games or talked about them in one way or another.
Okay.
For example, Corey Kenshin, I know was in it. Matt Pat from Game Theory was in it. I think there was a few more, and Markiplier was asked to be in it, but he was at the time filming his movie Iron Lung at the time.
Yeah, that's a movie we need to talk at some point as well.
Yeah.
But you know who Matthew Lillard is, right?
I don't recognize the name, but
Uh,
I'm
he
sure.
play he played Shaggy in the live action movies of Scooby Doo,
Oh, yeah,
and
that.
I
Yeah.
think he has done the voice for Shaggy for years now as well.
Uh,
And he was in the first Scream
yeah,
from
yeah, yeah.
1996 as well.
I didn't
So
recognize the name, but I do
uh,
recognize that actor.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You know who he is if you see him.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, like I said, the movie was a tad bit too long. There were subplot that I really didn't care about, and there were some cliches here and there throughout the film. Um, and the movie is a PG-13 movie, which
Yeah. I
means minimal blood and gore.
yeah, I did hear a lot of people that liked the movie, but had that same gripe that, like, for example, a bit of a spoiler for those who haven't watched it, that the spring trap scene where I don't remember his name, but he gets trapped in the suit and it kills him because it breaks or something. And
Mm, mm.
a lot of people like really thought that it missed out on the blood in that scene, considering
Yeah,
what was happening.
yeah, but I can get why they made it PG-13 since the core audience for Five Nights at Freddy's are teenagers, young teenagers, and
Yeah, but at the
teenagers overall. You know.
but at the same time, I think like the games aren't necessarily made for that audience, even though it is
No,
pulled by it, and
especially if you
so
take the plot into
yeah.
consideration, because the plot for Five Nights at Freddy's is really dark.
Yeah, so I think it just they missed out on making it as gory as the, not necessarily gory, but as dark as the game truly is, and it didn't
Mm,
it can't really do itself justice with a PG-13 rating.
no, no,
And it
but
feels like just because the game is popular, they try to pull out a larger audience by making such a
yeah,
move, but at the same
yeah.
time it doesn't do the game justice, which like it is popular because it is the way it is,
Mm.
and trying to
Uh,
pander to an audience is not.
well, the plot of the film is as dark as the games,
Mm,
but like I said, there are barely any gore in it whatsoever. There is one scene which I'm a bit surprised that they could get a PG-13 because of that scene. But overall, it's a very um, bloodless movie.
yeah,
Um,
it just feels odd for to have a horror game be PG-13.
yeah, well, if you want gore and violence and stuff, you want to see animatronics, murder animatronics going rampage, you should check out Willy's Wonderland or the Banana Splits movie because they are gory as hell
Yeah,
and they got murder animatronics in them. But at the same time, both of those movies have a jokey tone to them. And Five Nights at Freddy's is played straight,
yeah,
straight through the entire film. There are no haha moments or anything like
yeah,
that because its plot is really dark, like we already said. But it's something that I actually appreciated with the film, even though it's a PG-13 movie. It still had the balls to go the somewhat same route as the games,
mm,
with the story and everything. Uh, but yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the games, or horror movies with murder animatronics going on a rampage, um, I would recommend to see it. But if you don't have any interest or connections to the games, you can skip this one. Um,
By the
but
way,
like I said, it is an okay movie, but I don't see myself, running my legs off to rewatch it anytime soon.
yeah. But by the way, a bit of like trivia about the game itself, which the movie is based off. Did you know why Scott made the first game the way he did it?
I've heard about it, but it was years ago. Wasn't it
Yeah,
like he was struggling financially or something?
he was trying to make other games with like animal characters, and a lot of people criticized them that they looked more like robots and such rather than the animal he was trying to depict.
Mm,
And so he decided to lean in on that as he didn't succeed anywhere else to make them animatronics because apparently he was good at that rather than making them look like other characters. And I don't know how it snowballed from there to the actual game, but I know that is why he decided on the animatronic route
yeah,
of the whole thing.
I know that when you get killed in the games, there's a high pitched screech.
Yeah,
I know that at least in the first game, the sound effect he used was his own kid's scream, because
wow.
at the time, one I think it was one of his kids at least. He recorded the kid when it was screaming, crying, and he
Yeah,
pitched it up, and
yeah. That's that is very innovative.
yeah. But yeah, besides that, I don't think I've watched anything. I have started to play Alan Wake 2, which is
Mm.
a horror game, and it's I don't know how far into it I am right now. I think I'm like 12 hours into the game or something. And it's absolutely brilliant. I've been waiting for this since I played through the first game over 10 years ago, and
Wow.
it's probably my favorite game of the year so far. It's absolutely
Well,
brilliant.
there's not much of the year left, so
Yeah, but
well,
with all of that said, should we roll the trailer and jump into this classic motion picture?
yeah.
All right, so here is the trailer for Home Sweet Home.
It's 7 a.m. in Los Angeles, and our top story continues to be the intensive police dragnet for an armed and dangerous escaped mental patient. 26-year-old Jay Jones escaped from the Hobart State Hospital for the criminally insane last night after killing an attendant and leaving a guard in critical condition. Jones was committed to Hobart 8 years ago after a lengthy and well-publicized trial following the bludgeoning death of both of his parents. We talked with a state police department spokesman shortly after Jones's escape last night.
He's extremely dangerous, probably armed. He could be on PCP. Jones is Caucasian, 6 feet 3, 220 pounds with curly brown hair. If you see anyone answering this description, stay clear of him and notify your local law enforcement agency immediately.
The Bradley family want a change of pace and some peace and quiet in their lives. To achieve their goal, they move to a remote country home expecting to find calm and serenity, but instead, an escaped mental patient on a homicidal rampage finds them in the middle of Thanksgiving dinner, and this year, it's not a turkey being carved, but the Bradleys. Okay, so that is the somewhat inaccurate plot synopsis of the DVD I own, which is released by Avenue Entertainment. I think they released it in 2004. So it's a really cheap DVD. It's basically a VHS to DVD transfer without any extras or anything. But yeah, me and Zombie watched this together with Blue, who isn't here, unfortunately. It would have been really cool if she wanted to join in on this masterpiece of a movie.
Indeed.
I guess this was a first-time watch for you.
Oh, definitely.
Mm.
Oh yeah.
This was the third time I saw this film.
Why have you done this to yourself?
Yeah, I'm asking that myself, to be honest. Sometimes I, sit down and think about my life choices. But yeah.
Secretly a masochist.
Yeah, basically. No, but to be serious for one second, Home Sweet Home is it's not a good movie whatsoever.
No.
And the whole thing with me saying that it's a classic is, in a sarcastic way.
A goof and a gaff.
Yeah. Home Sweet Home from 1981 is probably the worst slasher of that year, I kind of guess.
It's hard to beat it.
Yeah, the plot is really straightforward. You got this psychotic killer on the loose. I think his name was Jay Jones, but in the credits it says the killer.
It feels like this movie has a plot, but at the same time lacks any plot at all.
Yeah, I mean, the first 45 minutes of the film is just people running around, chasing each other, and you got this character called Mistake, which he's like a mime with an guitar.
Electric guitar.
Yeah, with an electric guitar and an amplifier on his back.
Yeah.
And he's, just running around irritating basically everyone in the house.
And everyone is just trying to fuck each other, it feels like.
Yeah, in the middle of the day.
In broad daylight.
Yeah. And you also got this, I think she's Spanish or Mexican woman.
Yeah.
Who thinks that she can sing, but it sounds like, barking dogs and the car horns going off.
Yeah.
And at the same time, you got Jake Steinfeld, who plays Jay Jones, the killer, stalking them. And most of the movie is just nonsense. It basically is just padding up until the kills.
Yeah. I don't feel any motivation from the killer, like why and anything. Sure, there are movies where the killers just exist and just kills people, but you get the small snippet that if you blink you miss it, that he's from like an insane asylum, and it feels like
yeah, you can hear a radio broadcast at the beginning of the film.
Yeah, and it feels
they go out with a warning about him being on PCP.
He just arrives, do shit, and suddenly he has it out for these people, and it feels like so random. His choices in everything he does. He has no sense in killing, in like how we do it. Sure, most like killers in franchises don't, because they have like different types, but
There's usually in slasher movies. There's usually, a tragic event that makes the killer going on a killing spree.
yeah, and
They have some sort of motivation. In this movie, there isn't
he
really any motivation. He just wants to kill people.
yeah, it just starts with him choking out the guy that is parked in the middle of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, and the guy asks if he want a beer, which
Yeah.
is hilarious. And he continues on to ram an old lady in the middle of the street, which had about 20 minutes to move out of the way.
Yeah. It just feels like other killers in movies usually have a thread in what they do at the very least. Like either every kill they do in a different way is usually very brutal in the way they do it, or just very creative, or they have somewhat of a thread, or they do it in like a style. And it feels like he just has very different methods. Like he stabs some people, just picks them up and throw them out, and then suddenly he decides to take one hostage out of nowhere from never having spoken in the movie until then, and just screamed and laughed manically to like suddenly talking and dragging people away. And that felt like so out there from what he had done up until that point, that it felt like that didn't fit what the character had been doing until then.
And something we all three started to laugh about was his grunting. It sounded like he was walking around masturbating.
Yeah. Like,
that was absolutely hilarious.
like you can't take him seriously when it sounds like the majority of the time he could very well just be like jerking his junk, and it would be the very same sound.
Yeah, and the biggest problem with the movie is probably that, and I mean, you can't really fault the movie for it, but it's really dark, and I kind of guess,
Yeah.
Since it basically was a VHS to DVD transfer, we was watching some scenes. We were just sitting watching a black screen.
Yeah, it was so hard to see most of the movie.
Yeah. So I would say that this movie would. I don't think it would be better, but I think I would appreciate it a little bit more if I could see what the fuck's going on. If they did a restoration of the film, like Arrow or 8A Films or any of those companies.
Other than that, most of what I want is just a little bit more context to things. Like, I don't need a lot, but it felt like you barely knew how many of the characters were related to one another. It took so long into the movie until you got to know that most of them weren't actually related but just lived together.
I got the impression that some of them were just there visiting.
Yeah.
But you're correct about that. I mean, it's very unclear who's family with who, or who is just visiting there, or who is working, for the family.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The only clear thing felt like was that the child was related to the mustache guy that...
Yeah, I think that was Bradley. And
yeah,
the woman he was trying to, bonk was his girlfriend, but they weren't married. And the girl was his daughter. And I don't know where mistake comes in, if he was his son.
Or if he was just another tenant that... Because they never talk about if they were tenants or just living there, or what was what. And so it was very unclear because you thought that the woman was her mom, but the way she talked about Bradley, she didn't sound like it.
Yeah.
And so some people were obviously like there as like a plus person because they were dating one of the guys, but at the same time, why are you there? It took so long into the movie until one of the characters just admitted, like, yeah, I live here because I needed a room to be. Like, yeah. I don't need a lot. You just give me a place and say that, oh, I'm having a Thanksgiving with all of my tenants and they're plus ones, and that explains the whole thing, and then we're all on the same point and why they are there. Plus, there were no likable characters.
No. There were funny characters, but there were really no,
likable ones. Because they all like either shit talked each other or were weird
or obnoxious.
Yeah, it felt like no one truly liked one another. At the very least, unless they were
there were
dating.
There were two characters that was somewhat likable, even though they were a bit pervy as well. And those were the cops. Who showed up about halfway through, and at the ending.
They were the most likable ones because they barely showed up in the movie.
Yeah. And they weren't obnoxious either.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no. And the pacing of the film is really off as well. I mean, like I said earlier, the first half is basically people running around.
And it feels like the middle part is just people either driving around or just waiting for people to come back from driving around.
Yeah. And there's so many stupid moments in the film, sort of, with the whole... When the killer turns out the electricity in the house, and no one thinks to go and check the plugs,
Yeah.
Instead, the electricity can be gone for hours, and Bradley goes out and starts the generator, which is a scene that takes about 5 minutes. So there's a lot of padding in here, and the scene when Bradley finally gets killed goes on forever.
Yeah.
And the killer is just standing around watching him for like 30 minutes and doesn't do anything.
And the two girls in the car driving around felt also so drawn out.
Yeah.
Because you get a scene with them in the car talking. You pan to something else. You pan to them. They're still in the car talking. And it takes like 2-3 scenes like that before they actually get killed.
Yeah, and one of them gets killed in a really funny way. The killer throws her, and you can tell that they cut, and then they made a insert where she basically just lays down on a rock
and dribbling blood, and it's and it all happens when it's so dark.
Yeah, you can barely tell what the heck is going on. And the climax is so dragged out. It's... I mean, they walk around in this dark house for about 20 minutes. Nothing happens. And then they decide to go out, I think.
Well, I think the thing was that the killer got inside at some point, and so they got separated.
Oh, yeah. And the little girl makes it out. And
Yeah, and that was never shown either, because the killer got in and started attacking, and they were like, "Oh no!" and the girl was like, "Ah!" and then the girl and the guy, the adult ones, ran outside, and it was like, "What about the kid?" And one of them were like, "Oh no, the kid! No, forget about her. She's doomed." And then all we can assume is that she's dead, because they left her with a killer in the house.
yeah, so the guy is going back for her and gets
Yeah,
killed.
yeah, and then it goes several hours where nothing happens, and it was like, at that point, he could have found her and killed her,
Yeah.
despite everything. But apparently,
Oh yeah, by the way,
another
she stabbed him with a knife as well, so he should have bled out like hours ago.
yeah, it was also commented on why she survived and why the cops came at the end, like blink it and you miss it again moment where they just offhandedly mentioned that they found her at the gas station because she ran all the way all the night.
Didn't they find her along the way towards the gas station?
Yeah,
Something like that?
yeah, that might
She
have
was
been
walking at the side of the road.
it. Yeah, and they offhandedly say it so casual to the point where you could have missed it, and it felt as if that needed to have been mentioned better to explain her absence and the fact she survived. They could have just shown her running into the darkness and be like, well, she's gone. And
Yeah,
have that.
just some short insert shot, yeah.
Yeah, like, it could have taken a few seconds, like maybe 2-3 seconds to show her running out of the house, and that's all it would have taken.
And the thing with him, the killer, not killing the last woman, it doesn't make any sense because there are basically hours between the last kill and
yeah, he could have had
ending.
several hours searching for her.
Yeah, and she wasn't really that hard to find either. She was
No.
basically just out of the door of the building.
Yeah, and
So
passed out.
Yeah. So it doesn't make any fucking sense.
And that's another part of like his style of killing making no sense, because you can't really tie the way he does it to one another, because he does it in such different ways, where he does it standing around staring at a guy and then suddenly become violent, and then suddenly become violent immediately, then suddenly he decides to kidnap someone and drag 2 people away to kill them. And
yeah, that's the scene when he kills the Latino woman, and Mistake is just standing around like, don't hurt her, take me instead.
Just following.
Yeah, and he's like,
Instead
he's like 2 meters away from the killer.
Yeah, and he tries nothing when he sees him raise a knife to plunge it.
Yeah, he just stands around.
Like, he doesn't even try to like grab his arm or do anything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then suddenly he decides to wait several hours when he can't find the last girl.
And like I said, he should have bled out because he got a knife in his back.
Yeah, and he doesn't even like kill her. He just drags her around, like not in the same way he did with the Latino woman, but he just drags her around.
Yeah.
In a way he hasn't done or haven't been hinted at doing to any other person.
I mean, sure, he's supposed to be on PCP, which PCP can make you, if you get hurt, you don't feel it.
Yeah. That's another thing. He took drugs in the beginning.
Yeah. He's on PCP.
And you see him do it once, and it should have run out of his system at some point.
Yeah.
At some point, he would have needed to refuel it, and we saw no such thing being available to him. you can argue that he did it off screen, but it feels like you should have shown it in order to justify it.
What did you think about the, what should we call it? The last scare?
Do you mean where
When
he
he
jumps
opened-
out or
No,
opens
no,
his
no,
eye?
no, 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 no. When he opens his eyes.
It felt so unnecessary because sure they could have they look like they tried to go the route where, oh, he can't be killed, but
It is basically sequel bait, but
Yeah.
I can't really see,
I
or
couldn't
rather,
buy it.
I can't I can't understand how they thought that this would make that much money that they could have, made a sequel to it, because
Yeah.
it's
And he just doesn't look like the kind of character that just would suddenly survive several shots to the body.
yeah. I think they blast him 2 times with a shotgun and they shoot him with a pistol,
Yeah.
and he got a knife in his back. So, I mean, he's not fucking Jason Voorhees, that's for sure.
No, they don't try to show him being like a supernatural being,
Mm.
just a crazy person, and it feels so unnecessary.
Yeah.
They could have just had him been dead and have that been that.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
I would agree with you. I think it. Yeah, sure.
And
It is a staple of the subgenre with the killer coming back at the end.
Yeah,
But
and I don't know how dragged out by that point that kind of ending has become, because at this point it is so very common and cliche. But I don't know if it was a cliche at that point.
I think it was.
Yeah, because it's just so cliche to end it like, oh, he's dead. He's not. Like, it works sometimes, depending on the type of killer you have. But in this scenario, no, fam, no. It does not, in fact, work.
Yeah. Well. Should we? Or do we have anything else to say about it? Because I feel like. Okay, so I'm gonna be completely honest here. The first time I saw this film, I fucking hated it. The second time I saw it, I thought that it was. Yeah, it's shit, but it made me chuckle a couple of times, and I mean I've seen a hell of a lot worse movies, and
Yeah.
this time around when I actually had company watching it, and we commented on it, and like, why does he do that and why does she do that? That doesn't make any sense. Why does it sound like he's masturbating when he's walking around?
Yeah.
And we had a good time just chuckling together, and so I mean it is a terrible film. It's
Oh, yeah.
it's not a good movie whatsoever. But at the same time, I feel like if you got the right company and you just laugh with the film,
Yeah, if you-
it works as a party movie.
Yeah, it's a party movie of turn your brains off and just enjoy it. And a watch-along movie where you don't expect it to be good.
Yeah, it's not a good movie whatsoever, and
Oh,
it,
no.
it has some serious flaws to it. It got a lot of pacing issues, obnoxious characters, not very interesting kills.
No.
And the running time is around 80 minutes, but it feels like it's basically the double the running time than
Yeah.
what it is.
And not in a good way.
Yeah, but at the same time with company, it works for some reason. I mean,
Yeah.
if you're in the right mood to watch, you know you're gonna watch a trashy early '80s slasher movie that isn't good.
Yeah, with the right mood, it's so bad that it's somewhat good.
Yeah, you can get a couple of laughs out of it at
Yeah,
least.
on the enjoyment scale, that is.
Mm. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Like I said, I've seen this movie 3 times, and the first time I hated it. The second time I thought it was bad, but at least I got a couple of chuckles out of it. This time around, I wouldn't say that I enjoyed it, but I enjoyed the company and um, the fact that we had fun with the film, you know.
Yeah.
Um so I mean, if we were gonna give it a rating, I would give it a
It's hard.
this is fucking hard. If it was the first time I saw the film, I would have given it a 1. If I had
I
watched
can
it
see that.
alone. Second time I would have probably given it a 2.5. So I'm gonna go with a 4. A pretty weak 4, but that's because of the company, and I had a lot more fun this time around watching it. To be honest, I was a bit hesitant to decide to do this movie for
To
the
pick this movie, yeah.
Thanksgiving episode this year because I knew how bad the movie is. But
Yeah.
it turned out to be more enjoyable than I thought it would be
Yeah.
because of the company. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I give it a 4.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Because, like, alone, the movie is, on a good day, a 2. But with company, it becomes like a 3 or 4.
Mm,
And that is because of the company, if you have the right company.
yeah.
Because then it can become an enjoyable movie. Enjoyable with quotation mark. So yeah, I do agree with that assessment.
Mm. Okay, so a 3 or 4 from you and a 4 from me.
Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
So like a 3.5-ish.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna move into background now, but like I told you before we started recording, there isn't much background to be found about this movie. So I really scraped whatever
The
I could
bottle
come
on the
up.
barrel.
Yeah, I scraped whatever I could find, really. Um, the movie is also known as Slasher in the House, which it was released in Canada. It was released under that title in Canada.
Oh yeah. I just remember something. That was also something that never got explained in the movie. The fact that he has a hand tattoo that just say "Home Sweet Home."
Oh
You get
yeah,
you get no context for that.
yeah.
Why he got it, why they put emphasis on it. Nothing.
And you get to see that tattoo right before the opening credits,
Yeah, so like
which doesn't make any sense.
you could have cut that out entirely of the movie and you would have missed absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Because he did nothing for the movie other than give it like this title.
All right, are we done with the film?
Yeah.
Okay.
Back to the trivia.
Yeah, back to the background. All right, let's start over then. The movie is also known as Slasher in the House, which is it was released as in Canada, and it was also released as Blood Party in West Germany before the wall fell.
Oh.
Jake Steinfeld, who played a killer, is also known as Jake of Body by Jake, which is a brand for fitness lifestyle. He has, among other things, started a TV channel called Fit TV, which was a 24-hour fitness lifestyle network. I don't know if that network is still up or.
Well, considering his body, he sure looks like the kind of person.
And along with Blood Rage and the Fox Thanksgiving trailer from Grindhouse, which, by the way, has been made into a real film, like Machete and Hobo with Shotgun. I think that movie will get released this month, around Thanksgiving. It will be a slasher, and it is directed by Eli Roth, who did Hostel and Cabin Fever.
Oh.
Together with those, it is one of the few slasher films centered on the Thanksgiving holiday. And it also is one of the few slasher movies to be directed by a woman, which name is Nettie Pena. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It looks like she's Latino. But judging by the name, I mean.
Yeah.
Other slasher movies that has been directed by women around, during the 80s. On top of my mind is the Slumber Party Massacre trilogy.
Yeah. Those were actually good movies.
Have you seen the sequels as well?
No, good movies. Good movie, I mean.
Yeah, the first one is brilliant. We've done an episode on it as well.
Yeah.
So we should cover part 2, which is nowhere near the first one in, execution and the plot. While not prosecuted for obscenity, the film was seized and confiscated in the UK under Section 3 of the Obscene Publications Act 1959 during the video nasty panic. I think I've talked about that in previous episodes.
Yeah. I do believe so.
Yeah. Besides that, I didn't really find anything else besides some quotes from reviews of the film. So I was thinking I could read those.
Yeah, read some reviews.
Retro Slashers wrote, "The film has heart. Sure, it's a kind of mindless and confused heart, but the acting is decent and there's a real feeling that the filmmakers were shooting for something." What did you think about the acting? I thought it was, all over the place, really.
It truly was. Some people were better than others.
Yeah, definitely.
While... Yeah. It was acting.
We'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
A 1.5 out of possible 5 was awarded by Hysteria Lives, which is a great slasher movie review page, and I would recommend that everyone who's listening to this go and listen to the Hysteria Continues podcast, which is basically an extension of Hysteria Lives. A 1.5 out of possible 5 was awarded by Hysteria Lives, which opined that Home Sweet Home is a truly terrible movie. It's bad to the very core, but if you are in just the right mood and you're an aficionado of cheese, then you might get a few kicks out of this fetid stinker.
Yeah, I can... Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Film Bizarre...
That's just fancier words than we said about what we...
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Film Bizarre deemed the film an obnoxious mess that was filled with annoying and stupid characters, awful attempts at comedy, poorly done gore, and a
Mhm.
complete lack of originality or successful horror. I would agree
Oh
basically
yes.
on all of those statements.
Yeah. Yeah.
Critical
Indeed.
Critical Condition found that Home Sweet Home was one cop out after another, marred by poor lighting and an antagonist who hams it up so badly you half expect bacon to fly off the screen. Jesus. And the last thing I got here. Film historian Adam Rockoff wrote of the film, for being so irredeemably terrible, Home Sweet Home has a strangely compelling pedigree. I've heard that star Steinfeld has no sense of humor about involvement with the film, which makes watching this travesty almost worthwhile. So yeah,
Yeah.
I
We
kind of
were
guess.
not the only ones.
Yeah, well, it is a stinker, but it got its moments.
It is, as the review said, if you're an enjoyer of cheese and in the right mood
Yeah,
and with the right company,
exactly.
it can work.
Yeah. Okay, wrapping this up then. We are playing out
Yeah.
with Lindemann, Home Sweet Home.
And if I don't misremember, I do believe that the next episode will be also a holiday episode, because then we will talk about Christmas movies.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah.
What we will
don't-
be talking about then, we'll see.
Yeah. We have a theme, but not the movie. That is a secret.
Until then. Okay, so without further ado, let's say goodbye to the good folks.
Goodbye, good people. Thank you for listening to us talking about this movie.
In quotations.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening, and happy Thanksgiving. I kind of guess we don't celebrate that in Sweden, but
Happy
Yeah.
Thanksgiving.
oh, and one last thing. This movie is better than The Last Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, you mean?
No, The Last Thanksgiving, the movie we covered last year.
Yeah. Oh.
Got some purring in here.
Yes, we have my cat that wanted to join for some closing remarks.
Yeah. All right. Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.
Born in a breath of a wishless sea, the beast came with the rain, fallen upon your milky skin. A cunning drop crawled in your vein. Never ever got prepared, so shaken, helpless, and so scared. Such a needle in your hair, gone bald, there's nothing there. Home sweet home, inside you, eating your bones. Home sweet home, eyes on fire, lips in foam. And it caught the cold, it's caught inside you. And it eats and grows inside you. And it never goes. And it never goes.